of the Oakland County Reapportionment Committee. Also, in this case, the Oakland County Board of Commissioners meeting Tuesday, November 9th at 5:22 p.m. And I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
And I'd just like to remind the commissioners, if you could please turn on your mics when you respond so I can hear you. Thank you. Commissioners Cavell.
Here.
Charles.
Present.
Gershenson.
Here.
Gingell.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Joliet.
Here.
Kokendorfer.
Here.
Kowal.
Here.
Kuhn.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Lubes.
Here.
Markham.
Here.
McGilvray.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Moss.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Powell.
Here.
Spiz.
Here.
Weipert.
Here.
Woodward.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
And next up is the Pledge of Allegiance. So if I could ask everyone to please rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I know that there were some, I think we ran out of some agendas, and so staff is printing up more agendas so that anyone who doesn't have one, we will get one to you very quickly. Next up is the approval of the minutes from the September 29th, 2021 date, moved by Commissioner McGilvray, seconded by Commissioner Lubes. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the minutes are adopted unanimously. That brings us to approval of tonight's agenda. This is the one item here. I'm going to get a motion to move the agenda, moved by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Powell. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the agenda is adopted unanimously. And that'll bring us to communications. Is there any communications, Madam Clerk? There are no communications. This will move us to the public comment of tonight's meeting. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to speak on any agenda items. This is the one agenda item that we're taking up. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes to allow ample time for everyone else to address the Reapportionment Commission this evening. I think some people did sign in, so I'll start with that, and then if you didn't sign in, we'll make sure that you have the opportunity to speak. So is the list still back there? Commissioner Cavell, is there a list of people who signed up for public comment? We'll just start with that, and then if you hadn't started, there'll still be an opportunity for anyone to speak. Is it recording? All right.
Is this a recorded board meeting?
Yes. It doesn't look like it. Okay. We will start with Ross. There's a Bronco from Novi. Ross, welcome. And if you can direct your comments to me on topics on the agenda. And we have a timer up here. Where's the timer?
Over there.
Oh, right there. Yep, timer's up there to help keep you on track. And if you exceed the time limit, I'll ask you to please promptly wrap up your comments. So Ross, the floor is yours.
Okay. I've emailed a copy of my nonpartisan maps to all the commissioners, and they were a 19 district version and a 21 district version. The 19 one was just done to compare to the one that the commission has submitted, and I did it without gerrymandering or partisanship. I just looked at the geography of the outlines of the communities of interest. I believe the 19 districts is reducing the amount of the communities of interest's representation. The most populous communities of interest are Troy, Farmington Hills, Southfield, Rochester Hills, and Novi, which includes the northern portion of Northville. These communities of interest are above the average population for a district and are required to be split, but they only have to be split into 2 districts. Splitting them into more than 2 districts isn't necessary, and doing so is gerrymandering. Pontiac and Royal Oak are communities of interest populous enough to keep whole as a single district and should be kept whole. Breaking them into 2 or more districts isn't necessary, and doing so is also gerrymandering. The other communities of interest require being merged with other communities of interest to accumulate the required average district populations. My maps illustrate how this can be achieved without partisanship geographically and logically. The map submitted by Commissioner Woodward for 19 District reduces the community of interest representation. There's no need to reduce the number of districts nor reduce the community of interest's representation. It breaks Royal Oak Township into 5 districts instead of the 3 that is necessary to break up that township. It breaks Pontiac into 2 districts, the city of Royal Oak into 3 districts, and Birmingham into 2 districts, which is unnecessary. They can be whole. I asked Commissioner Woodward, do you have a political agenda to reduce the communities of interest represented or break Royal Oak Township into 5 districts instead of 3 to break up Pontiac, Royal Oak, and Birmingham into pieces? If not, then submit a 21-district map that doesn't do these unnecessary things like I did. If you need any help, I'll gladly assist. If anyone would like to see my maps, I'll share them with them through a text or email. Thank you.
Excuse me. Next up is Sandra from Novi. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you. I'd like to point out that tonight's meeting, having the reapportionment plan, the apportionment redistricting, I think that it's obscene that we don't have that up on the screens and see the maps. I hope we'll be seeing them up there along with Ross's maps during the meeting, because it's rude. It's unfair for you to keep the community, to keep them behind your desk and to make the agendas for you. And when we come, we have to ask and get more printed and things. And I realize you don't want to waste paper, that there might not, be 100 people here every time. But this room has often been fairly full. And we have people who would like to speak, they would like to be heard, they would like to be able to have questions answered. And I think that it would be wonderful to have the maps up on the screens and project them so we can all see them. I would also like to comment on the fact that, the dividing of the communities is a big deal. It's just a big deal. And Ross has made his maps for free. He's not offering them to sell them to the community, but he's offering to give them to you. His labor, his work. He's not a paid worker like you are. When you were in your recess for hours and hours, you're being paid to do that. This man's getting nothing. He doesn't even get gas money to come here. And I'd also like to mention that on the expenditure priorities, which Dave Woodward said that there was only 1 agenda item, there are actually 2, so anybody who would like to speak on the expenditure priorities may also speak on that. Is that not correct?
That is not correct.
Okay,
There's
so
only
did
one
you
agenda
drop?
item on today's apportionment meeting.
So
which is
from the
maps.
caucus time until we came in here?
No, ma'am, the caucus had a different agenda than the reapportionment agenda, which is the 1 item.
Okay, but no, it's 4A. Is this not Tuesday, November 9th? Did they give me an error? Okay, all right. Well, so you're saying that the expenditure priorities cannot be addressed at this time. Is that correct?
That is not on today's agenda. Correct.
Okay.
I mean,
well,
you can speak about it at the end, the second public.
Okay, well, I won't be here at that time. I'm sure you'll be happy about that. But anyway, I do want to thank Commissioner Markham for coming to meet me. I had not met her before, and I mentioned that in the caucus, and she did come over to meet me. So hopefully we'll have some productive conversations going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, I got Barbara, followed by Catherine Kennedy. Barbara from Troy? I think Yagley? Yes. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of my community of interest, which is Troy. Looking at this proposal, and these remind me of the ribbon farms that the city of Detroit had at its founding. You know, they have these long strips of land, and maybe it made sense to give everybody access to the water, but it doesn't make any sense to divide up our county in this way with these narrow strips like this. And so I don't know. In 2018, we had a vote on proposals on, you know, keeping politicians out of, you know, doing district maps and things like that. And this was going to be for the people, by the people, and the people spoke in 2018. And I don't know, looking at this map, it just seems like that you guys are ignoring the voice of the people. So I would want you to please reconsider and contemplate that, you know, what the people were actually saying back in 2018 and how they wanted compact maps that represented the communities of interest. In our community, you were dividing us into these 3 sections and making us, you know, all stretched out like that. I think it's hard on the commissioners, too, to be able to try to represent everybody that you're asking them to represent. So they won't be able to do it. They'll ignore our voices just like you apparently are ignoring the voice of the people. So I'm asking you politely to reconsider and redraw these maps and try to make them as concise and compact and keep our communities intact, too, to the best of your ability. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we got Catherine Kennedy and Tasha Shergan.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion. Once again, I'm addressing this board begging for transparency and let us know in advance so we can review the things that are important to our lives and our communities with some type of respect. The fact that the board finished this map at 7:45 last night to vote on today and waive the rules that require a minimum 48 hours notice to the public for a review, you just feel like you don't have to follow any of the rules, apparently. This is very upsetting. This is not a lawless country. However, we have a lot of so-called leaders that are encouraging lawlessness at all levels. There were 7 directives by the Senate for this redistricting committee. Priorities: 1, equal population, comply with Voting Rights Act. 2, geographically contiguous. 3, diverse populations and communities of interest. Partisan fairness is number 4. It is not allowed to disfavor incumbents disproportionately, which is the only thing this does. It's deliberately destroying, and the county, city, and county boundaries are supposed to be respected. We have entire communities and school districts that are being destroyed and sliced and diced because Mr. Woodward would like total control. It's not about being good for the citizens. It's not about helping the citizens at all. This is completely unfair and unequivocally in violation to your own board policies. As I recall, just in September, there were proposed plans and amendments must be submitted to the chair and posted on the Oakland County Commissioner's website for at least 48 hours for public review before the commission may take any action on the proposed plan. These are your own words that you can't follow either. I don't get it. You know, maybe we need to focus more on reading in our schools. I am actually so appalled by the partisan behavior of this community, this council, who is in charge, and they're supposed to be representing all of us. All of our communities do not deserve to be torn apart. This is totally inappropriate, and it will not stand. You need to understand, the people are not okay with what you're doing. This is a violation of our Constitution. So many of the times what you're doing is just wrong. It isn't even about red and blue, it's about right and wrong. And this is totally wrong, and we, the people, object. So you better start listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And we're moving on to Tasha Shurgan, followed by Sharon Carter. Welcome, Tasha.
Thank you. Tasha Shurgan from Clarkston. Catherine, what you said was very profound, and it is interesting to wonder, is what happened, is how Commissioner Woodward is handling is it legal? So that is something I put on my to-do list to look up and see where the boundaries are. But what I wanted to share is we do need a redistricting plan that's fair and balanced for our communities and for the best interest of our county as a whole. It's essential to accurately represent all citizens in a nonpartisan manner. Currently, Woodward's map does not represent fair and balanced. Please do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon, followed by Brandon, and then Tegan.
Good evening.
Welcome.
My name's Sharon Carter. I'm from Southfield. I have a couple of observations, and this is my big question. Why is the number of commissioners decreasing when our census numbers increased from 2010 to 2019? On July 1, 2010, the number in our county was 1,202,384, and it grew to 1,257,584 on 7/1/2019. That's Oakland County. So, okay, I get that you're redistricting because you can, but what this is doing is it's blocking my Republican voice. By squeezing out Republican districts, my voice and many other like-minded voices are being suppressed. I cannot support Mr. Woodward's redistricting plan because I, and we the people, are not fairly represented under this plan. I want this county to be successful. I'm concerned because this new redistricting plan is not fair. You must be aware of all our voices so that this board is truly fair, that this board truly represents all the people of this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon Eldridge from West Bloomfield, followed by Tegan.
Hello, my name is Brandon Eldridge, and I'm from West Bloomfield, Michigan. I am not in favor of the redistricting plans that Commissioner Woodward has drawn up. I fully support the plans that Commissioner Spiz drew up. The number of commissioners needs to remain the same. I want to first of all state that I'm very concerned and awestruck how the districts in Oakland County are drawn up by the commissioners and not some independent third-party company like most other counties in Michigan. It is already clear that many of you have been blatantly ignoring and refusing to hear the voice of your constituents, those who you swore to serve and represent when you took your seat. I find Commissioner Woodward's proposal to be deplorable. The fact that his plans changes the number of commissioners from 21 to 19 is outright dangerous. Although you are representing the people, the smaller number of commissioners means the greater control you have to make decisions you want to while disregarding what your constituents actually want. Upon doing research, it is clear that part of the reason why Commissioner Woodward wants to redistrict is so that he can pit the current Republican commissioners against one another. Hoffman, Long, and Kowal in District 12, and Gingell and Spiz in District 6. Why are you trying to pit the Republicans against one another in this redistricting plot? What you are laying out is gerrymandering and is a plot to pack the district with Democratic commissioners to ensure that the Republican commissioners who have actually been the closest over the past 7 months to the residents of Oakland County get voted out, and so that you have supreme power to carry out whatever socialist and communist agendas that you so desire. According to Priority 4 of the MICRC Redistricting Criteria Priority Order, partisan fairness, districts shall not provide a disproportionate advantage to any political party. Commissioner Woodward's redistricting map it's not abiding by that. And so, again, I want to, again, just voice that I'm in full agreement with Commissioner Spiz's proposal and ask you all to reconsider moving forward with another plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Next up, we got Tegan from Rochester Hills, and then Julie from Novi.
My name is Tegan, and I'm from Rochester Hills. I made some posters. For once to do what's right. And if you do this, you'll get more happy faces. That's going to be good for what we want. We are going to be watching you. Please be fair for our community and do what's right. Pretty, pretty please with a cherry on top, do what's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tegan. You're always welcome here. Julie from Novi, then John Lipotsky from Waterford.
It's hard to follow through after that speech, but I'll do my best. I'm Julie Madej from Novi. Many of you heard me speak earlier in the caucus meeting, and I'm just going to restate my words for all of you to hear. I'm here to talk about Chairman Woodward's redistricting maps. I'm not here to be divisive. I'm not here to be mean. I'm just here to be a productive member of our community. Our country, our state, our county, and even my little city of Novi is so divided right now. These maps that you've drawn, or this map that you, Chairman Woodward, has drawn, is going to have the effect of dividing us even more at a time where we need to come together and work together for the greater good. You guys are all members of this commission because you believe in civic duty and civic responsibility, but you believe in the good of our community as well. So I expect you as a citizen to do what's right. By reducing the number of commissioners, you take away power from we the people. Chairman Woodward, you indicated one of the reasons for taking those commissioners away was to save money. Why would you take away power from the people in the name of saving money? Spending money, keeping our commissioners and keeping our voices adequately represented, to me seems like the best use of money. In 2018, we the people voted. We voted on voters, not politicians, making these maps. The sentiment of that vote should be what you're following through with in our county. We need to do better. We need to come together.
Thank you, Julie. John from Waterford.
Yeah, I think that the map should represent the will of the people. I don't think the current maps do that very well. It seems to me that my village, my city, my township should be the primary focus because I want to be able to talk to a representative who could cover my area of interest. If you split up 3 different commissioners for Waterford, I have to yell at 3 people instead of just 1. So I think that should be the primary thing. Keep those as whole as you can so that I'm talking to a representative, only 1, to make my issues. The way it's looked, you've got it now, you might as well just have representatives at large, okay? Because they have to represent too many different communities with different interests. And that's not the will of the people. The will of the people is to be represented, okay? We need to redraw the maps, ignore pretty much who what party the voters are, and let that be the last thing on the list. right now, that seems to be the primary motivation. So I just think that diluting my voice, because now I have to talk to 3 or 4 people to get my interest taken care of. No, I don't want to talk to 3 or 4 people. I just need to talk to 1, okay? And which commissioners are you targeting in your map, okay? Obviously, by reducing the number of representatives, all of a sudden, you're in command. And that's not the will of the people, okay? And what, didn't you resign?
Thank you, sir. Next up, we got Rocky Roszkowski. Rocky, you here? Oh, there you are. Oh.
Can't hear very well.
Sorry. Rocky, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here from a political perspective. I'm here as a citizen of Troy. I happen to live not too far from the Birmingham border in Bloomfield Hills, but I live in Troy. My community is Troy. I pay taxes to Troy. What's really interesting is that let's not talk about the past or injustices of the past, of past commissions or legislatures. We're not here to hash out the past. We're here to look forward. And I believe that it was majority of our Democratic friends here, actually all of you, that supported the 2018 proposal, vote politicians, not voters, that so many people eloquently spoke about. But yet we're forgetting about all that, because there is not a single district drawn in the maps that are proposed that pit any one of you against another one of you. That is very interesting. What is more interesting, and you should not be drawing partisan lines. I'm not saying that you did anything wrong. I would never say that. But it's glaring that you did. That these maps were drawn for political purpose. A political purpose where communities of interest like Troy are torn into 3, maybe 4 districts. Royal Oak torn into 3 districts. And let's forget about the past, because we didn't have the law of 2018 that we have now. We had the 8-ball standards. How many districts did we break apart? How many lines did we break apart? How many of these districts are compact and contiguous? Look at district number 3. Is that really a legal district? Is it? And I know you may think, that's partisanship. No, I'm just asking you to go back to the drawing board. You have a little bit of time. You have even 24 hours, because you're going to be meeting again. Go back to the drawing board and do the right thing. Can you really look yourselves in the mirror if you don't? Thank you.
Thank you, Rocky. Daniela Davis from Beverly Hills. And I think Charlene from Bloomfield Hills. Daniela Davis? Did I read that right? Welcome.
My name is Daniela Davis, and I live in Beverly Hills. I know many of you. I've served with you. I recognize you, and I respect some of you. I serve as precinct delegate, and I'm a state representative candidate. I regularly volunteer in my area, as well as in Birmingham and Bloomfield Hills, and have for over 20 years. Voters, not politicians, promised that our communities will be kept together. With the proposed redistricting, many established communities have not been. I'm concerned with the Birmingham and Bloomfield areas. My son attends C-Home, as they are broken up in an obvious way to gerrymander. Mr. Woodward and commissioners, the maps are not compliant with the Voting Rights Act. Specifically, these maps are not drawn fairly or are balanced. These districts need to be thought about again. Every draft map for the State House puts Bloomfield Township in more than one district, intentionally diluting its interest. At least one map puts Bloomfield Township in multiple State House districts. Community, you've heard this tonight. Community has been the key word in many pleas. community of interest per the state constitution should take priority. As you know, Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, and Bloomfield Township have historically combined to form a community of interest. This community includes a close-knit and growing diverse population and offers 2 district-wide public schools. I served as director on one, Birmingham Covington School. Please consider fair and just divisions, keeping our communities together for the true interest and representation of our voters. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Danielle. Charlene Morris. I think Doug from Madison Heights. Doug McLean from Madison Heights. Charlene, I got Charlene first and then Doug. Or did Charlene leave? We'll go to Doug. Hey, Doug.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Doug McLean. I'm from the city of Madison Heights. And I have 3 maps here before me that none of them fit my desires for a map drawn for redistricting. Mr. Woodward, you gave us a plan for, it looks like a real skinny line of dipping into Hazel Park, city of Madison Heights, and a little sliver up in Troy. And it looks like it's gerrymandering to me for that. We have another map here that Mr. Spritz, I think it is, dips down into Hazel Park again and into Royal Oak a little bit and Madison Heights and a portion of Troy, a very small portion. Mrs. Kowal, she gave us another map also, and same thing. It's just not correct the way this is going to go for the next 10 years. It puts it all in favor of the Democrats as far as I'm concerned. Nothing there for Republicans. I have nothing more to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we got Mike from Berkeley.
Hi, my name's Mike Stager. I'm from Berkeley, Michigan. Nice to see everybody. Actually, just moved into town. I spent 18 years in California, and I just found it somewhat striking that I come in and all this hullabaloo over this meeting. It's like, well, God, I figured there's gonna be like tons of people here and shouting and screaming. This is totally civilized. And the comments, I have to say, are incredibly reasonable and rational. You guys are lucky, and you should think about it. You're probably not going to, because there's also a very clear distinction in this room where everybody over here and up there are wearing masks. Everybody here is not. So I get a sense we're pretty much into blocks, almost tribal markings or something. But I mean, it feels that way. You gotta realize you're coming in, you're just looking at things. I mean, it is a little bit striking that you're taking out 2 seats. Mr. Woodward, I guess it's your plan, right? You're taking out 2 seats. I guess the Democratic Party is the party of austerity now, because you want to save some money. That's a little strange. I mean, 1.2 trillion for some infrastructure, but we got to get rid of 2 county commissioner seats in the most affluent county in Michigan. I think it's the most affluent, right? Yeah. That seems a little strange. But I also want to remind everyone, politics is a funny situation, and things that seem obvious to people that are going to make a decision, and you've got it, and it's fait accompli, and that's why there's very few people here, because people just figure this plan can pass, and you're going to pass it, so why come? That's what people think. It's not true. You guys could change it. That's right. But I think the reason you might want to is because the comments have been so reasonable and thoughtful. It's very obvious. No one can deny it. But there is a thing called a Pyrrhic victory, right, that you think you've got something. Mr. Woodward thinks he's got a political career. I'm going to tell you that right now. Right? He thinks he's got a career. Maybe he's like Pete Buttigieg, he'll be transportation secretary next. Right? I mean, that's the kind of game that's being played here. But it's not how you build a country, it's not how you build a civilization, and it's not even how you build a political career, Mr. Woodward. It's not how you function in a real nation. We haven't been a real nation in a long time. Michigan knows that. We've seen the effects of globalization and deindustrialization. These are the problems we actually have to solve, and doing what you're doing are just political games. And you should really think about it, because Pyrrhic victories, it might feel great for the second, there's a bad hangover. And the people know that. They're watching this process, so thank you.
Thank you. Charlene? Is Charlene Morris here? Okay, is there, I think there's some more people who maybe signed up on the list. Commissioner Cavell, can you do a quick eye check?
Nope.
Are we good? Okay. If you want to, I can handle it. Thank you. Please come up if you can state your name and community.
Hi, I'm Beth Felix from Clarkston, and I addressed the committee yesterday, but most of you weren't present. So I'm just going to kind of repeat what I said. I, as a tax-paying citizen of Oakland County, strongly disapprove the Dave Woodward redistricting plan. Dave, you know this is gerrymandering. Friday, you went after Commissioner Coal for doing the same thing when she was in the legislature. You called her out on her actions, but yet you turn around and do the same thing you thought was terrible and unjust. That is straight up hypocrisy. For you to continue to dismiss your tax-paying citizens and ignore us does have ramifications. You may not know me or us, but I think you are gravely underestimating our involvement in our communities. And again, we strongly oppose your gerrymandering plan.
Thank you. Ma'am, you don't need to sign up. If you want to come up to the podium.
You don't have to sign in.
Ma'am?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, if you want to speak, right, I mean, I completed the list, so if you want to speak right now.
May I? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. If you can just give your name and
Hello? Okay.
name and community of residence, please.
Thank you. Georgia Dixon. I live in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. I have prepared a statement. I have signed it, and I would like to submit it when I am done. Dear Oakland County and David Woodward, I object and do not agree to the map and plan proposed by David Woodward. This plan is gerrymandering and a plan to diminish the Republican voter representation in Oakland County and would establish and perpetuate an unfair political advantage for the Democrats, such as Mr. David Woodward and Mr. David Coulter. As I voiced on November 5th, 2021, and in several Board of Commissioner meetings in the fall of 2021, October precisely, Mr. David Woodward demonstrated bad judgment in the conduct of his meetings. Mr. Woodward demonstrated to the citizens present at the Board of Commission meeting punitiveness, impulsivity, and disrespect for the timeliness of the start of the Board of Commission meetings. This is an example of Mr. David Woodward's bad judgment and his thinking. Mr. David Woodward supports the masking and suffocating of young children in Oakland County schools.
Ma'am, can you keep your comments to the agenda? This is the opportunity to speak to agenda items.
This is,
That's not on the agenda, ma'am. I mean, you may proceed, but please, there's one item on the, ma'am, there's one item on the agenda.
I'm sorry, what?
There's one item on the agenda. And there's a second public comment. You can speak and say whatever you want about me.
And the second, well, no, this is about the masking.
There's no masking items on the agenda.
Okay, for these reasons, bad judgment, extortion tactics of the youngest in our society, and disrespect for the community at large, I do not accept and I do not embrace anything Mr. David Woodward would promulgate with the changing of any city lines and annihilation of existing communities for his gain. And I'm also including my email of October 13th with this, where I ask for your resignation.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else that would like to speak to our public?
This.
You can just leave it up there and we'll come get it. Thank you. Anyone else would like to? If you could just state your name and community of residence, just as a reminder for folks who maybe walked in from the start, this is the opportunity to speak on items on the agenda. There's one item on the agenda.
Good evening. Thank you for your service, everyone. I'm Donnie Steele. I'm from Orion Township. I actually work at Orion Township as well, and I would just like to concur with what I've heard in the audience tonight. I do not agree with the map, and I just wanted to state that I don't agree with the map. I really appreciate Mike Gingell. We are a big growing community. We have 40,000 residents, and I do believe that we need to have one representative for our commission, which happens to be Mike Gingell, and I believe that Oxford is also a very growing community of the North Oakland County and the district in which Mike Spies represents. I think that it's necessary that he maintains that district as well, because it's two distinct, separate districts, and it's a growing population, and we need voices from both communities. So thank you. I wish that you would start over.
Thank you. Anybody else that would speak during public comment? Welcome, sir.
My name is Eugene Dixon. I live in Bloomfield Township. The David Woodward plan to gerrymander the present voting districts to disenfranchise independent and Republican voters is wrong. Woodward's plan ignores the will of many voters by cracking and packing voters in an effort to promote his radical socialist agenda. In August 2019, liberal Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan said, "Those who engaged in gerrymandering debased and dishonored our democracy." And that's from Supreme Court Judge Elena Kagan. We citizen voters want fair maps. We do not want Democrat maps or Republican maps. Maps should adhere to a square grid pattern, which will then eliminate as much bias and subjectivity as is possible. The only exception being, like the lady spoke just before me, being to keep intact townships and cities whenever possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that would like to speak during public comment? Speak on items on the agenda. If you could state your name and community, please.
My name is Therese Schroeder. I'm a resident of Royal Oak, Michigan, and I concur 150% with everything that's been said with this audience, and I think there's an issue of integrity here, and I think everyone knows in their hearts and their minds what's right and what's wrong. I'm looking at you, Mr. Woodward.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else that would like to speak during public comment? Welcome, sir.
Hello, my name is Scott Peterson, Wixom, Michigan. And just very brief comments. For years, Republicans gerrymandered Democrats out as much as they could. When Democrats got power, they gerrymandered Republicans out as much as they could. So we've had the two parties fighting with each other for years. 2018, I believe the voters of Michigan voted on something they thought was going to happen to change this. And I believe all we're doing right now is going back to what we had before. We are not doing what the proposal was. I believe the proposal was intentionally set up to get the way that districts were decided changed, but not made into what the people really wanted. The people wanted, as other people have said today, politics out of it. They wanted just people looking at the communities, trying to keep things as logic would have it, not as politics would have it. And we have this now. Yes, the Democrats are in power in the county, and yeah, they can pretty much do whatever they damn well please. But things do switch around. Let's just do what the intent was of the people when they voted. Not what they ended up voting on and being tricked, but what their intent was. And their intent was, let's just try to make it a fair policy, not being an advantage for the Democrats, not being an advantage for the Republicans, just being what people wanted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that want to speak during public comment? Seeing, oh, is there someone else? Is there anybody else? If you could approach the podium, but I think this might be the last person. Welcome.
Terry Nalamothu, Independence Township. I'm also a trustee there, and I'd like to reiterate everything I'm hearing today. People just want fairness. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really tired of the fighting. Wouldn't you rather have it if you ran for office or something, that it was closer to 50-50 and the best person won, not walking up and putting your name in a hat because you have 90% of the little area you carved out for yourself? People want it to be fair. People don't want to look at the R&D anymore. People just want to listen to values and know that people in these seats are doing what's best interest for the people that voted on that proposal. I thank you for listening, and just do the right thing. And if you want to save money, feel free to give up your seat.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, is that, I think the last of public comment. Oh, we have one more. I think this will be the last person, right? Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Cynthia Potts from Springfield Township. Nothing ever happens up in Springfield Township, but things are beginning to change. We're a beautiful area, and I've never come to one of these meetings before. Think about it. I'm here. I've got time. I'm here. We're watching. There's a lot more people watching. Mr. Woodward, I'm listening to comments here, and when L. Brooks left the scene, Mr. Coulter wanted to fill his position as a matter of civic duty. He promised he would not run. Well, Mr. Woodward, glad to meet you here in person. I'm hearing comments here, and that's what I will be addressing, is that it's your suggestion that 2 commissioners be eliminated to slash the budget. You're still on the clock, you get paid. I don't know why all of a sudden you can pull a few pennies out, so to speak, and it's going to make that much of a difference if we're looking at something that's been written by for the will of the people, as the people spoke in 2018. There was another comment here that the redistricting, the map be adjusted and discussed again in another 24 hours at another meeting. Sounds good, but gee, what happened to that 72-hour review that there's supposed to be? That there's still not going to be a review there. Again, the voters spoke in 2018. There's a big undercurrent here, more than the masks and no mask contingencies here. We shouldn't even have this, but that's a matter for tomorrow night. Mr. Woodward, who's pulling your strings? Why is this such a passionate effort on your part to get such a partisan division within our counties? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, that will conclude public comment. We'll bring it back to this side of the auditorium. We have one item. I will call on the chair of the Reapportionment Ad Hoc Committee, Commissioner Powell.
On behalf, I can do it from here, right? Yep.
You can do it from there, too.
On behalf of the Reapportionment Ad Hoc Committee, I have a resolution titled Approval of the Apportionment Plan of the Oakland County Apportionment Commission. Mr. Chair, I move the adoption of the foregoing resolution as presented.
We don't have a resolution.
And the resolution, it's online, it's in the packet. It speaks broadly to adoption of, just for clarification point, this is approval of the Woodward Reapportionment Plan A, Amendment 3, as part of that resolution. Is there any, there's a motion by Commissioner Powell, seconded by Commissioner McGilvery. Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make an amendment to that resolution. I would like to consider replacing the Woodward A Amendment 3 map with the Spiz map, please. So I make that motion.
So, wait. Folks, makes it harder to do business. What was the motion to? To
replace the Woodward Plan A Amendment 3 map with the Spiz plan. map that's also on the website.
So the sub, okay, so I've
Which
got-
takes it back from 19 to 21 districts.
Are you amending
I'm amending, yes.
a map, or you're swapping out the attachment in the
I'm
resolution?
swapping out the attachment that's in there.
You're swapping out the attachment in the resolution for
Correct.
replacing the Woodward Plan A Amendment 3 with the Spiz amendment.
Correct.
Motion by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Kowal. Any discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I've stated a few times before, I'm not exactly clear on what's driving the 21, from 21 to 19 change. If we're looking to save some money, which I think everybody here knows I'm all for saving money in different ways. I think there's better ways for us to save some money as a county. Maybe rethink the sustainability officer that we're paying $150,000 a year to, and/or my favorite thing is the contractors, the contract with the sustainability organization, which we're paying in excess of $600,000 to. That if we could reduce those slightly, we would save way more than $100,000. And by reducing from 21 to 19, it also, has been stated by a few in the public, it reduces the reach of the people. Now they only have 19 people to contact versus 21. So with that, I thank you, and I hope everyone consider
Any
my
further
recommendation.
discussion? Commissioner, okay. I mean, I will be voting against this amendment. I think that the ad hoc committee did a yeoman's job in bringing in a lot of community and commissioner feedback, and so I will urge commissioners to vote no on the amendment. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
Commissioners can vote at their desk.
The screen says it's for the original
Yeah,
agenda
can we,
item.
can we
It
just
doesn't
get a
say-
roll call vote on this?
Sure.
Yeah, please, yeah.
The Spiz Amendment. Commissioners Charles?
No.
Gershenson?
No.
Gingell? Hoffman?
Yes.
Jackson?
No.
Joliet?
Yes.
Kokendorfer?
Yes.
Kowal?
Yes.
Kuhn?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Lubes?
No.
Markham?
No.
McGilvray?
No.
Miller?
No.
Moss?
Yes.
Nelson? No. Powell?
No.
Spiz? Yes. Weipert?
Yes.
Woodward?
No.
Cavell?
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 10 yeas, 11 nays.
An insufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment fails. This brings us back to the main motion. Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, point of order, please. We do have in our rules and procedures that the map is supposed to be up for public review for 48 hours. That has not been fulfilled. And I think we are in violation of our own rules and procedures that we all agreed to and voted on.
Thank you, Commissioner Cavell, for that comment. Original maps were posted long in advance. As you were aware, you were at the meeting in which the current map is a result of cooperation, working with commissioners in this body. And the resolution before us addresses, is in complete compliance with the rules that allows us to make adjustments necessary on the timeline. And that is reflected in the resolution. Commissioner Kowal, for a second time.
I respectfully disagree that I believe it was intended for it to be the final approved plans that were supposed to be before the public review for 48 hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the resolution moved by Commissioner Powell? Commissioner Kuhn, followed by Commissioner Gingell.
Yes, and I'd like to challenge the ruling of the chair as to the legality of this vote that was just raised by Commissioner Cole.
So you are, what is exactly your motion? It's not really a rule, Commissioner Kuhn, that our rules explicitly say that this commission has the ability to modify rules that were adopted earlier in the year to take up, things matter. So that is in the rules itself.
So vote on it. All I'm saying is this, is you're making a ruling
I'm not making
on
a
what
ruling,
the
sir.
meaning of that is, and Commissioner Kowal has objected to it. I challenge the ruling of the chair as to the legality and appropriateness under Robert's rules of that ruling.
I didn't make a ruling. The motion expressly spells out in accordance with our rules. Commissioner Gingill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make some comments about the map that is before us. It's the Woodward C map. And I'm going to start out with the fact that I'm going to support this map tonight, not because I think it's a great map, not because I think it's not politically driven, not because I like it, but because, and not even because I think it's necessarily constitutional. But the reality is, the Republican body is in the minority. We're going to get a map tonight. And the Woodward C map, in my opinion, is slightly better than the Woodward B or A map. The way the process will work, as the shoe was on the other foot 10 years ago, and a lot of these same actions are consistent to what was 10 years ago, but this map will potentially be challenged. It'll go to court, and it may even go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of the state of Michigan, should it make it there, will rule on this particular map that we're voting on tonight, and they'll either rule in favor, and we'll get the map that gets voted in here tonight. It'll be the Woodward A map or the Woodward C map. Or the Supreme Court will say, you know what, District X or District Z, the way the map's drawn doesn't comply, doesn't meet, and they'll throw it out. And it's likely that it'll come back here and have another map drawn. But in my opinion, because of the situation that exists, it will never be a map under these conditions that is fair, reasonable, that we would all sit here and say every district's competitive. I don't think this particular map does address the ratio of Republican, Democrat, Independent in Oakland County, but this is the situation we're in. And in my opinion, the Woodward C map is better than the Woodward B or A map. And we're going to get a map tonight. From there, it can be challenged. And if we challenge and lose the challenge, I would rather have the Woodward C map than any of the other Woodward options. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gingill. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Kokendorfer, followed by Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's be honest. Both Republicans and Democrats in the past have drawn lines that favor their parties. That's just reality. But voters have recently said that enough is enough. There's a very clear movement in this state and in this country. That's why voters have enacted independent redistricting commissions in Michigan and elsewhere. That's why they've demanded limitations to draw these lines. They want fair lines. They want balanced approaches. Yeah. This map is a textbook example of why voters don't trust politicians to draw their own districts.
Please refrain from demonstrations while Commissioner Kokendorfer, please finish your comments.
It likely results in a board that's about 70% Democrat. That's nowhere near what Oakland County looks like. In 2020, which is a really tough year for Republicans, Joe Biden, President Biden, the best he could do was 56% in Oakland County. That's it. And we're looking at 70% Democrats on this map. Our community deserves better than this. This map is cynical and disrespectful to voters, and I won't support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Chairman Woodward. I do want to thank you for agreeing to meet with some of us after your first map was proposed. And I, of course, prefer the SPIS map. And do I think the map we're voting on tonight is gerrymandered? I do. I agree with Commissioner Gingill that this is, I think, better than your first map, the one we're voting on tonight, despite the fact that I still have to run against another Republican. I think this is better than your first map, so I'll support it. And do I think that this map comports with the wishes and the intent of the people who voted for the ballot proposal? No, I don't. But I still think it's a tad bit better, so I will support it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any further discussion? I'm just going to make a couple comments about the map and what went into the development of this. This map does actually create districts that are most equal in population, not just today, but more equal in population than the last 30 years that we can confirm to date. It maintains the fewest community breaks. It contains 3 minority-majority districts and a number of others that are approaching that. And probably most importantly, that it, in the last few days, it has taken in the comment and feedback of commissioners and the public to try to address and to get to something that improves upon the originally addressed map. And so for those reasons, I should also note that at 19, Oakland County still remains the largest public body in Michigan outside the state legislature. And in comparison to counties that are even larger than us, south of us has 15 commissioners, it will lend itself to efficient and more effective county government. So I will be supporting this resolution tonight. Commissioner Gershenson.
I just wanted to add that although everyone is referring to this as the Woodward map, and all the fingers and nasty comments are directed towards our chair, as is requested from Robert's Rules of Order, many of us had input in this map. So this wasn't a one-man creation. It is just labeled as Spiz's was labeled, as Coal's was labeled, and as Woodward's was labeled, because we needed an author to move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no further comment, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. I'm going to call the roll.
Commissioners Gershenson,
Yes.
Gingell,
Reluctant, yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Joliet,
No.
Kokendorfer,
No.
Kowal, Kuhn,
No.
Long,
Yes.
Lubes,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
McGilvray,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Moss,
No.
Nelson,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Spiz,
No.
Weipert,
No.
Woodward,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Charles.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 14 yeas, 7 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted, and the apportionment plan for 2022 through 2031 is adopted. They'll bring us to unfinished business. There is none. New and miscellaneous business. I don't believe there is any. Announcements. Seeing none. They'll bring us to the second public comment of tonight's meeting. This is an opportunity to comment on anything unrelated, on any topic. And so if you could just come up to the podium, and again, if you could state your name again, please keep your comments. Limited to 3 minutes. And again, same rules as before.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Board Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry. Commissioner
get
Charles.
Can we get these cleared?
Yes. Can the screen? Yes.
Thank you.
We'll work on that. So I'll start with that. There are some people who signed up for the second public comment. So I'll start with this, and Sarah, I'll bring you up right after. Catherine Kennedy.
Good evening, Commissioners. Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion. I am very concerned about the lack of credibility in this board. Why is it that we are ignored? We're the citizens. Why do we not get the 48 hours minimum, which is ridiculous to begin with? I'm actually very offended. I'm also very concerned that the census has never been vetted for citizenship. Why are we doing redistricting when the census of 2020 included illegal aliens? Why are we using those numbers before we vet them? I think that's improper. I think a lot of the things that this board is doing is fully improper. It does not consider the best interests of our citizens. And this is what really worries me, because there's a lot of people that think that because we're a rich community compared to the others, that somehow we can be wasteful and squander the citizens' equity in favor of everyone else and ignore the entire citizenry. I don't think there was a single person in this group that was in support of your plan, sir. Don't you think that's something you should listen to? I mean, we are the people. You work for us, not the other way around. I guess you get 53 grand a year for that. So I really am very concerned at the fact that this board doesn't seem to think the people count. We have not been given proper notice. We have not been given an opportunity to keep our communities together. This is critically important for the next decade. My kids and grandkids will be in scattered communities with school districts severed and split apart because you choose to be the controlling person in this area. I'm not okay with that. And the policies that have been implemented in this county are extraordinarily socialist, in case you hadn't noticed. There's an awful lot that is violating our Constitution. I still don't know if the minority SBA that SCOTUS said was unconstitutional has been removed, because we voted that in before. So I'm so concerned because our entire country, our entire state is acting illogically and anti-American. Why are we working against ourselves? That's what I don't get. Why is it not more purple pragmatic? It shouldn't be red and blue. It should be we work together, one people in our nation with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Tasha, followed by Tegan.
Tasha Shergan from Clarkston. I found this piece of information the other day. It's actually from 2019, but I'm going to share it with you. So this is about vaccines. I just want to start off by saying that where there's risk, there must be choice. The vaccine schedule has tripled from 1986 to 2019 to 74 doses of 16 vaccines by age 18. Many of these vaccines are given in combination with others. There have been no studies to support the safety and effectiveness of vaccine combinations. The National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act indemnified vaccine makers and physicians from all liability when injury or death occurs following vaccination. U.S. law regards vaccines as avoidably unsafe. Adverse reactions that do get compensated come from the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program and are funded by a 75-cent tax per vaccine paid for by the patients. Over $4 billion has been paid out for vaccine injuries and death. Remember, this is from 2019, so that number's gone up from there. The CDC estimates that the reporting of adverse reactions from vaccines to the CDC and the FDA, Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, which you guys are aware of, it's called VAERS, we've talked about that before. That, the reporting is only, the CDC estimates that reporting is only 1 to 10% of the actual numbers of incidents. Given these estimates, there are possibly 300,000 to 2 million adverse reactions annually. 2 million. That's from the CDC. The vaccine information sheet given by your pediatrician is not the actual manufacturer's vaccine insert and omits critical information. The actual inserts are 12 to 20 pages long and list several warnings and adverse reactions, which include seizure, encephalopathy, and death. Not to mention now we're hearing about blood clots, myocarditis, the list goes on and on. Reported reactions listed also included SIDS and autism. Vaccine ingredients include thimerosal, aluminum, formaldehyde, MSG, acetone, glycerin, lead, yeast, animal DNA, unidentified animal viruses, polysorbate 80, and aborted human fetal tissue. It's not known how these neurotoxins, animal and human DNA, affect our immune system. Autism rates were 1 in 2,500 in 1985. In 2019, that number was 1 in 45. Currently, 27% of children are chronically ill. 1 in 6 have learning disabilities. 1 in 10 have ADHD. 1 in 13 have food allergies. 1 in 10 have asthma. 1 in 20 have seizures. It's estimated that 33% of childhood illnesses are caused by environmental exposure. There is also a rise in childhood cancers, autoimmune disorders, such as type 1 diabetes, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and lupus. Vaccine-targeted diseases often occur in vaccinated individuals. I'm going to leave this so it can be part of public comment. Everything that I read is sourced on the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Tegan. Welcome back, Tegan.
Hi again, it's me, Tegan from Rochester Hills. Children should not have to wear a mask at school, and there should be no vaccine mandates for people. There should be a vaccine choice because I know a couple people dying from the COVID-19 who had the vaccine, plus children, are the newest generation, and if they have the vaccine and had COVID-19, they might die. We do not want them to die because they might not, might not be any future, which means crops and soaps and medicines, possibly the elders in the future, might not survive. So do not force the vaccine on anybody, especially kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tegan. And anybody else, you don't have to sign up, so please come to the microphone. And if you can state your name. Well, actually, I think he was, oh, it's okay?
I'll go after her.
You'll go up after that, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He was, that's
No,
right,
no,
we're good, we're good.
Again, my name is Julie Madej. It's clear that your constituents' comments tonight have fallen on deaf ears. It is clear that you have also disregarded all of the voters of the state of Michigan in 2018 with their vote of voters, not politicians. You dismissed our comments and your egregious partisan behavior as a chair and as a commission have not gone unnoticed. I'm not mad. I'm truly saddened by tonight. I'm saddened. I'm saddened that your agenda has taken precedence over doing what you know is the right thing. And I'm saddened when you, Chairman Woodward, put your head down and don't pay attention to your constituents. Again, we need to do better.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I really appreciate the chance to talk to you guys. This is a relatively rational forum.
I think it's getting a little more rowdy.
Mike Steger from Berkeley, and what I meant by Pyrrhic victory is that there's a lot of assumptions in politics. The Democrats took Virginia huge a year ago, and then they just lost it badly. Demographics change. The idea that there's an assumption, I'm sure it's not outright, it's not overt, but we all know it's there, that minority districts mean that different representation, but the Democrats assume that they'll get the minority districts. Frankly, I think that's totally different. I think the Democratic Party is today the party of the country club. It's the party of Wall Street. It really is. I mean, the bailouts from Obama were that was hardcore. Like trillions of dollars to Wall Street. So you represent the minorities? That's not true. Now, Trump brought in a commitment to the working class, to manufacturing, to industry. And it changed the demographics. That's how he broke the blue wall. Probably broke it twice, right? He'll break it a third time. I came back here to Michigan to make sure it happens. Now, and we're going to organize some of these districts, so even the districts you think are Democrat aren't going to be Democrat in a few years. This county commission is totally wide open. We got to go organize. We got to organize. But I have a quick question because I want to be sensitive in this era. Is anybody here on the commission, or actually in the audience, diagnosed with OCD by a psychologist? Is anybody diagnosed with OCD? Oh, okay, somebody is. Okay, well. So no offense to anyone diagnosed, but I worked in a co-op in college, like a hippie co-op. I was in college in California, okay? There was this guy that used to walk in with a bottle of rubbing alcohol and a face mask, and it was kind of all covered, and he would wipe every bulk item, because co-ops and those kind of stores have a lot of bulk food, snacks and stuff. So he would wipe every door handle with an alcoholic swab. Now, at that time, I could look at him and say, he's got severe issues, psychological issues. And he would probably have been diagnosed. You guys are sitting behind plastic walls, wearing masks, because you think you're supposed to as a duty, and it's totally neurotic. It's neurotic. We need people that don't look paranoid, they don't want to put on a uniform that's paranoid, that don't think creativity is somehow related to neuroses. Creativity is the healthiest state of the human identity. It's nothing to do with neuroses or insanity. So we need people that are bold and courageous and healthy and alive and going to work for the future of the people of this county and of Michigan and of our country. So stop playing the theatric games by wearing a mask behind a plastic veil 18 feet apart with your vaccine mandates on you. That's insane. Are any of you not vaccinated? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that would like to speak during public comments? Please come to the podium. Last call. Last call for public comment. We got another, okay. Mr. Peterson. welcome.
Scott Peterson again, Wixom. I'm not going to talk about constituencies. I just think everybody here on the commission needs to realize, you, me, everybody, we will all die one day, and we will all stand before our Maker. And our Maker is going to say to us, what did you do with the power and the gifts I gave you? And I hope some of you who are making decisions that I guess I don't feel are right, maybe you feel they are right. I hope we can all start looking at the decisions we make and the honesty we have, because we will all face the same judge.
Thank you, sir. I believe that's the last public comment. Going once, going twice. Okay, so I'll declare the second public comment closed. No further business coming before the reapportionment committee tonight. We stand adjourned and probably won't convene for 10 years.